Hi, I'm Galen Lehman, proprietor of Lehman's in Kidron, Ohio. I'm here in our retail store with a friend of mine, Paul Weaver, a carver from the local Amish community. What he's done is taken blocks of wood and created amazing new worlds, seemingly just drawing it right out of the grain of the wood. The first time I saw his work was about 10 years ago. And for me, it was almost like an Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole experience. Except instead of falling into a strange world of weirdness and mixed up things that don't make any sense, it seemed like I was returning to some memory of my past, to what it means to live in the country, to what the values that made America great, to the things that were important to me. And it felt like I was entering a fantasy world that was just an amazing place to be. I loved his work so much, I thought we should share it with you here at our store. We've set up a display, and I'm going to be talking a bit with Paul about his work, about how he goes about creating the art that he has created, the amazing work that he's created, and what it means to him and what it can mean to us. So how long have you been carving?
I started carving about 20-some years ago. I love working in wood. And I seen started whittling chains and things, and I went to school one week and he got me started on deep relief. And from there, I just again want to credit God. He gave me the talent to do this, and my wife and my two sons at home, which they've been very helpful over the years. And also Lehman's, I want to thank them for giving me the opportunity to display public. If it wouldn't be for them, they'd still be at home.
Tell me where you get your inspiration from.
There's something about deep relief when you do a picture, it's totally satisfying. Well, and again, I progressed over the years from learning, and I'm still learning. I'm always doing, trying to do something different in this, but there's just something about wood carving. I love art, but there's something about the 3D and the wood it's just different. As you were saying, it gives you a sense of being at a different time.
And you've actually been interested in wood, like this has been your career. You're actually a furniture maker, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
But the carving is a whole different kind of work, isn't it?
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it and you have to learn to relax and just enjoy it, never hurry, just if it takes a month, it takes a month, 2-3 months, it's just, you're in your own world.
So the average work that you do takes several months to do?
3 months, I'm guessing. In the earlier carvings, maybe even longer, but as you progress, you can do it quicker, but I never hurry. If it takes, the hands, Mary Magdalene has her hands clenched on the crucifixion. That took me a day to do those fingers.
Wow.
On that. So, but after the end of the day, I was satisfied with what I've done, so don't hurry.
So when you're going to start a carving, you start with a bunch of timbers and you glue them together to make one big piece.
Yes, planks.
Planks. And so then you have essentially something that looks like a butcher block.
Yep.
And it might be 3 to 6 inches deep?
7 is max so far.
Okay.
And down to 1.5 inches, the thinnest.
Okay. So to understand what you're going to carve, you first start with a picture that you've selected, and you glue that picture right onto the face of this block, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then at some point you must, how do you know like where to start cutting?
Your sky is always the farthest away, so that's always where you start, and I always come from the back out and usually left to the right because I'm right-handed, so I don't break anything off. Then it's as if something real fragile, I don't carve that until totally last.
Okay.
So the block will stay there just as a block. Now there are times when I can't get behind something, I will break something off and carve behind it and then glue that back in and then carve it. So
and how often do you think you use glue?
To glue something in?
Yeah.
Usually never.
Well, if you break the piece off and put it back in again. Like you never glue another piece of wood in, but when you're when you have to get in behind something,
Yes,
how many times do you think that happens that you actually use glue?
not often.
Not often.
The crucifixion, no.
None?
No.
Okay. And
No,
this is-
I could do everything, but sometimes when there's leaves or something right against the shingles or something, I'll remove that in order to do
Okay.
the shingles. Usually, almost all, like the carving up there on the wall, the making the wood, nothing was glued into that. That was all done. So usually I don't. There's just once in a great while I will have to remove something.
So how many different tools are you using in your carvings?
75% of a carving is done with hand tools,
And-
chisels and knives.
And how many different tools do you think you use in the progression?
150,
Wow.
I'm guessing, with all my bends, curves, small and drills and the whole works. I'm guessing at least 150.
So when you look at what you want to carve next, what are some places that you draw inspiration from?
Okay, it'd be, you know, the Kincaid, Redland, Humphrey. But again, my favorite artist is definitely John Sloan. His carvings or his paintings take you back into, I guess, being Amish, the simpler with the horses and the whole works. He takes you back into a time that's lost in America now, which you have to move on. And he almost always, when he does a painting, they're plowing, making wood, or they're milking cows. And usually my wife is really good at picking the pictures also. We're about 95%, we usually agree on a painting to do a carving from. And it has to be a painting that you can do a carving. So a lot of nice paintings don't make carvings. It has to be a certain ring to it. So, and again, I want to acknowledge the painters, the artists that I use their work, you know, for the inspiration I get from them.
Yeah.
I can't draw
Yeah.
at all. So
And I was curious, what kind of wood do you use when you're carving?
I started off with mahogany. I just probably done about 4 maybe, and switched to butternut, and that's probably all I'll ever use. You can, on butternut, they call it a white walnut. It doesn't have an odor like walnut, and it's light.
So when your work starts, it's actually starting with a log.
Yep.
Then you're cutting the log into planks. Then you're gluing the planks together. Then the carving begins.
Yes.
Wow.
And I've never had a crack.
Wow.
So everything's glued together. And usually some of these carvings, the back is maybe a 1/4 inch thick. That's it.
After you've carved into it,
Yep.
what remains is only
Yes,
a 1/4
what
inch. thick.
remains, just a 1/4 inch. It's
So when
not
you're
much.
carving, are you ever worried you're going to go through the back?
I've already did, but I won't tell you which one.
So I understand as of now, you've never sold any of your work and you never intend to?
Don't know.
Yeah. So what is you just like it too much? Why don't you want to sell it?
Well, I wouldn't have any to display. So I don't know. I've always felt that if I carve, I'm in a different world. It's so much fun. I really enjoy it. And if I do it for someone, or even thinking about, well, I'm going to sell this, I just think it might take away from what my goal is. But as far as making a carving and eventually selling it, maybe. Because I have 30, I'm going on 32 now, and I have no room for it anymore. So maybe.
So you're Amish.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, Amish aren't allowed to have video taken.
There must be 50 different types of Amish. So we're actually almost beachy, you could say. So we have electric computers and tractors and the whole works like that. We don't have cars at this time. I don't know what we'll have in the future or not. And we're not opposed to any of that. It's just the way we want to live. So
you're
it's
still-
our choice.
In your church, you still travel by horse and buggy?
Yes.
But you use electricity at the home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I've noticed that when people speak with great authority on who the Amish are, the Amish do this or they do that, it generally means they don't know that much about the Amish.
Yes.
Because there's so many different ways of believing, right?
That's true.
And when it comes to your faith, how does your faith play into the artwork that you select?
First of all, as far as faith, it's looking at Amish. I know there's a lot of works in the Amish, but the Bible makes it plain. We are saved through grace and not of works. So, first of all, in our church, you have to be born again. That's the main thing, is to give your whole life to Christ.
So I'm a Mennonite and you're Amish. In many ways, our theologies are kind of linked or similar.
Definitely.
And I would say that as a Mennonite, what I often see is a struggle to do good, but to understand that doing good isn't what gets us into heaven.
True.
As an Amish person, what do you see in that issue?
Yeah, it's again, I try to tell people Amish is a choice. Like, you wouldn't have to be Mennonite or what you are. You could actually be with the different. We in our church, if anybody wants to leave, they can leave. We don't excommunicate, for changing churches and things. So, there's a different degree. Some people are more comfortable as far as our upbringing. From where we're at, even with the clothes and things, and again, clothes, you don't have to be Amish or dress Amish to make it to heaven. We know that, but I always tell people it's a choice. If you want to be that lifestyle, same as someone living in the sticks and they like living in the boonies, it's a choice. Some people like living in the city. It's a choice. And that's what I'm saying, being Mennonite, Beachy, Amish, or my brother was Grace Brethren, my sister's Church of Christ, and we're all brothers and sisters.
So when I think of your art, what I see in your art is the very values that you're talking about here are coming through in your artwork.
Yeah, then it'd have to be simplicity. As far as, that's one thing I like about the Amish, is the simplicity. Try, just living a simple life. I enjoy that. But that's not, as you said, and doing that into the carvings, there's something, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
This was the second one I'd done. I'd done a small one in school, and then I enlarged it. It's David Bennett was my teacher. And what he does here, he'll glue a lot of things in, like the bulrushes and the post and the window slats. And as I progressed in carving and everything, I tried to get away with gluing or carving everything into the wood without gluing anything, is what I'm trying to do. So the earlier carvings, I did glue in the window slats. The crucifixion was a picture I seen. It was painted in the 1400s. I had my eye on this for like 30-some years, and I didn't think I could carve it. And Troyer's Furniture, Matt from Troyer's Furniture came in, and he told me, he asked me when I'm going to do this, and I said, I don't think I can. And he said, you don't know unless you try. So I decided, my son encouraged me. He said, there's no way you can do this carving. But anyway, the crucifixion is all carved into a solid block of wood. There is nothing glued in at all on this carving. So whatever you see is, and it took me like 20-some years of experience to get to this place. And I told them on Mary Magdalene's hands, fingers across. It took me,
right here.
Yep, it took me a whole day to get those fingers cut in the hands and get that down. And so that's what I'm always saying. If you're doing carving or something, don't hurry. Just if it takes a day, it takes a day. And the rope, that was all carved into the wood. That was not added at all. So, so this is probably the hardest carving I ever done at this point.
You've talked a lot about the work of John Sloan.
Yes.
This is one of his works here.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, and as it gives, you see the lady, she's milking, and she's pouring milk into the can. And the farmers usually get jealous at me on this because she has one cow in the back of her and has 4 milk cans. So a
very productive cow.
They claim they're going to milk their cows longer. And when you look real close, there's actually a cup on the shelf on the inside of the window. And everything was carved into this, nothing added. There's two cats that look a little more like cougars. And you see the cow and the lantern, and I'm still not quite done, but I want straw coming down over a loft. I'm not quite happy on that yet. So then there's a broom to the side. And this is again, John Salone. He will be doing a painting of some action of a time past when you had maybe one cow and you survived.
One cow that gave 10 gallon milk cans.
Real good cow. So this is probably the second hardest. This is Thomas Kincaid. But again, as far as Thomas Kincaid being different than John Salone, his is usually not action. But this is called Village Lighthouse. And everything you see here was carved except the window slats I did glue in on this. And then I put lights in the back. Drill out through the back, but I usually don't like doing that. But this is the second hardest I ever done. There's a lot of detail on that one. So, and then if you look real close, there's the snarls were peeping out of the doghouse on that. So, okay, this is Thomas Kincaid. This is my wife's favorite. The way I understand, Thomas Kincaid took his daughter and placed her in front of a covered bridge somewhere, and that's his dog on the stone. And then he took a picture and he done the drawing of this. And the wall on the back of the covered bridge goes the whole way through. Everything was carved into a block of wood, including the girl with the pole. Now I did remove these. What I done is I carved those and broke them off to do the building, the shingles behind it, and then glued the leaves back in and completed those to get.
I can see that it would be almost impossible to carve unless you remove those tree branches in front.
And that's what I said. Once in a great while, I have to do that.
When you break the work off, aren't you afraid it's not going to be restorable?
Always break it, never cut it, because you won't have your. If you saw it, or if you even use a knife, you can't glue it. Because
when you break it, it goes along the grain in a natural place.
And you can actually glue that back in and you won't know it.
Okay.
It's a perfect break. So I use Gorilla Tape to protect the frame as I carve. And then I leave my wood come in some here. I don't go way out, so the chisels, as they hit this, they keep my fresh frame. And on this, my picture's just glued on. This gives me my outline, so I can do chopping, drilling, and the whole works, and I don't have to measure. But once I get in to do the carving, then everything's measured. This is a little different because I could use my picture. But usually I lose my picture, and then everything's recreated on the deeper on the inside on that. So this is probably about 1/4 to 3/8 done roughly, and I'll be going over things. I do something and I don't like it, and this is a picture over here I'm using, and that's a John Salone. And that's now that's a hard picture, but it's not complicated, not like some. And this one will have no sky, so it'll be all trees.
This artwork has been so inspiring to me, and I would love to invite you to come and see it for yourself. There is no charge for the exhibition. We're just showing it because we believe in the work that Paul's doing here, and because we think you'll enjoy it. So please come and join us, enjoy the artwork, and while you're here, enjoy some of what our community has to offer.